Hey, so how to practice when you're exhausted. Here's some things that I've been learning about myself, and maybe somebody out there on the interwebs might find it a little helpful for themselves in their own music practice journey. So, what I named my outline here that I put together, I called it "Tips for Highly Sensitive People Too Tired to Practice." And kind of what I'm thinking there is, a lot of the time, some of us who are really into music as a hobby, it's because we feel music more deeply than other people, and maybe that would put you in the class of a highly sensitive person, which is kind of a pop psychology category. And a lot of the time, if you relate to that identity, then you're the kind of person who, when you spend a whole long day and you come back after a long day, you've been under this barrage of all this information and all these things that you're aware of. You come to the end of the day and you're exhausted. And the irony is that you're more wired to love music, but at the end of a long day, you're kind of wired to hate music. That's kind of how I relate. And so the irony is, even though I prioritize and value music and the pursuit of music and the pursuit of great musical experiences, but at the end of a long day, I can literally hate music. So definitely one thing that I learned early on, years ago, maybe 5 or 6, 7 years ago, was don't sit down and try to make music at the end of a long day as a habit. Because sometimes that'll be great, but generally speaking, that'll just be like rubbing your fingers over sandpaper, But practicing, on the other hand, has its place and can be a very comfortable experience that doesn't drain you of your energy. So a couple tips that I put down for things that I've been learning recently about how to practice when you're really exhausted. First thing I wrote down is turn down the volume. That's something that, it's kind of a no-brainer, but makes a really massive difference. A lot of the time I'll take my piano away from its main voice, put it on to something a little more gentle sounding. And you do the same exercises, but you do them at a low volume. With your guitar, you can just turn it down. I've spent a lot of time, not lately, but in the past, I've spent a great number of collective hours sitting at the drum kit, the E-drum kit, with the volume off, with the power off. And you can practice the same old rudiments. You can do every single exact same thing. The problem is you don't have this, the energy that it, conjures up for you and then leaves you exhausted afterwards. Instead, you just have the regularity of the rhythms and the muscle memory you're learning and the almost meditative quality that you get from learning new exercises on most instruments. Next thing I put down was slow down and enjoy it. This is something I've been telling myself and learning to do lately. This is one thing particularly with violin. I come home at the end of a long day, or whatever. I feel tired and I pick up a violin, and I'm trying to rush through my exercises, and I'm just all pitchy, and it feels awful. And I've been learning to, okay, so you're pitchy, so slow down, get the pitch right, and just enjoy it. Just enjoy kind of perfecting that pitch, instead of trying to rush through the exercises and say, man, I'm not going as fast as I should be, that kind of thing. Another thing I wrote down, enjoy exercises for their calming, repetitive quality. And then I put in parentheses, and their emotionless quality, as opposed to practicing songs. This one is one that, I guess I learned it a long time ago, really, but I kind of keep reminding myself of it, particularly on those days when I don't want to practice. Just remind yourself, this isn't supposed to be the super hard work where you're in high gear, raging away. This is supposed to be, or it can be if you want it to be, just kind of like a meditative experience where you're just kind of really slowly kind of going over something. Same as, if you make yourself a nice little cup of tea and you sit and play a calm little card game, or, chat with a friend about, things you like. And then I put in there also the emotionless quality. So definitely, sometimes going all emotional is what you need when you're tired. It depends why you're tired. Other times, for me, it can be like fingers on sandpaper. like rubbing your fingers on sandpaper. Like you just gotta stop. Or fingers on a chalkboard. You just gotta stop because you don't have space for it inside you. So doing exercises or doing emotionless songs in an emotionless way can be a really rewarding experience. And kind of putting away your emotions and saying, that side of me is for later. And right now, I'm perfecting, a similar skill to the skill when you go running. You try to improve your running skill. And that's not an emotionally charged experience. It's a physical experience. It's a learning experience in that other kind of way. And then this is also a newer thing I've been learning is sometimes just go by time instead of the number of accomplishments you're supposed to do in that practice session. And particularly what I'm thinking about is this is something I was learning with violin, kind of like what I was saying a minute ago about just sitting down and trying to run through my scales, and I'm all pitchy and I can't get through them. And I've kind of improved my mindset by telling myself it's okay if you get fewer things done, quote unquote. But you're slowing down and maybe honing your senses in a way that will pay off down the road way more than trying to rush through things and saying, why am I not good enough today? And part of it too is, okay, so you sit down and do something that you used to be able to do. Let's say on the piano, you're trying to get some basic stride pattern. Oops, that's wrong. And let's say you keep going, you keep hitting your A with the G, and you say, man, why are my fingers slipping all the time? And you feel like you're a load of crap for it, and you try to rush through and you do your exercises badly. Well, instead of getting all worked up about that and trying real hard and working up all your energy, why don't you just slow down and say, okay, there, it's perfect. And that feels so good. It feels so good when it's perfect. So instead of forcing myself to go fast, why don't I just slow down? Now, occasionally as well, this isn't something I've done a whole lot lately, but occasionally I would just let myself turn a practice day, turn a practice session into an improv session because, let's say you've got a lot in your mind, just lots been going on, and you've got a lot of emotions that want to come out. Well, a good improv session is going to be including a lot of things that you would be practicing. So you don't want to do that instead, like regularly, but once in a while, I think it's, for me, I think it's been a positive experience to sometimes sit down at the piano to practice and then get distracted and let myself just go to town, letting out, whatever emotions, that kind of thing. So that's my list. That's the list I put together. Tips for highly sensitive people who are too tired to practice. And I've found these to make it a lot easier, and I've come to the point where, more so than before, it's never perfect, but I come to the point now where more so when I'm tired, I can tell myself, you know what, just do it and enjoy it, instead of just do it and get it over with. It's a very big difference. Turn down the volume, turn down the lights, turn off the lights, and do something you enjoy, and let it be that kind of meditative, relaxing experience, while at the same time you are using your senses. But, oh, and I left one of these things off the list. Where is it on the list? I don't know. I know I wrote it down, but I can't see it on the list. I must have skipped over it on accident, but and maybe I deleted it on accident. The other one was practice one thing at a time, like only one thing at a time. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've found helpful. It's not so much recently, maybe this is a couple of years ago when I figured it out, but if you're really in high gear and you're practicing something, you could be, for example, going over a song. Let's say you're doing a song that you're learning, from the based on sheet music, and you're paying attention to dynamics, you're paying attention to getting the correct notes, you're paying attention to following some of the various expression markings, you're paying attention to your posture and the way you're the way you're doing the notes, you know, I don't know what the word is for your form. You're paying attention to form. You're paying attention to pedaling technique. Let's say you're at that point where pedaling is kind of new. You know, and you can have a billion things in your mind at once, and that takes a lot. And you tend to not learn as well doing that as well, but it's also when you really go the more proper practice technique where they say, okay, I'm gonna do one thing right now. You know, let's say I'm gonna do a scale, and that's all I do. I don't focus on, you know, pedaling, for example. Leave the pedal off, you know. And that, just realizing it's okay to just get rid of all the trappings. It's not supposed to sound like music. And just focus in on one thing. What I've been doing on my guitar practice routine is I spend about half my time just playing a single fret and bending it up a half step and trying to get that note bending to be pitch perfect. And that's pretty easy to do in terms of I'm exhausted and I don't feel like waking up and trying to play guitar. It's much more relaxing and enjoyable to sit there and try to perfect your half-step pitch bends. So anyway, that's my list. Those are some of the things that I've been learning, and yeah.